Joseph Bahout is a visiting scholar at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and he joins us to talk more about this very complicated situation in Syria. Joseph, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
What you could just sense how tense that meeting at the UN Security Council was, with John Kerry saying he feels like he's in a parallel universe with the Russians and the Syrians. So is diplomacy still has a chance? Does it have a chance? And what about the status of this doomed ceasefire? Is that pretty much done?
Diplomacy has less and less a chance with time going on and destruction and violence in Syria unfolding. Now, on the issue of the ceasefire itself, let us say that it is tonight in very serious condition. I think it is clinically almost dead. Politically, there's a will, very tenuous will or very fragile will to keep it alive. Now, the ceasefire was already fragile before it entered in effect. It has many loopholes, it has many preconditions, it has many fragilities, and etc. It was further fragilized, if not completely struck on the head, with the two strikes that we've witnessed. The American error strike on the Syrian army a few days ago, and yesterday the bombing of this humanitarian convoy that is still unclaimed. Now the American side is saying they know who did it. Regardless of details, I think that it will be very difficult after what happened to rejuvenate this ceasefire. It will be probably the case because both Americans and Russians need it. Each party for its own reasons, mainly because the Obama administration needs a framework before exiting the White House, and the Russians need to have a partner in Syria, that is the US, in order to legitimize their action. But I think that technically it will be very difficult, at least because the parties seems either unable or unwilling to exert their leverage on their protégés on the ground.
China has been pushing for more diplomatic efforts. The U.S. perspective on trying to salvage this ceasefire. Today, John Kerry once again talked about some kind of no-fly zone over Syria. Do you think that could make a difference in probably, in helping end some of the violence?
Of course, that a no-fly zone technically could have helped a long time ago. Now it is a bit too late technically.
But
now
all parties would have to agree to that.
Yeah, but to be precise, just John Kerry didn't use the term no-fly zone, and this was an error made by the media. John Kerry said in the meeting that we've seen now some footage of, he said to Minister Lavrov, you have to force your ally Bashar al-Assad to ground his air force.
Meaning Syrian planes.
Syrian, and it's not a no-fly zone. This is the nth time the American is repeating the same thing to the Russian. Exert your leverage on your protégé, which is the regime. Now, the Russians answer in a kind of cynical ping pong. They answer, okay, and exert your leverage on the rebels and etc. But we all know that the leverage the US has on the rebel is much weaker than the leverage the Russians have on the Syrian regime. Now, what could save the ceasefire? I think, first of all, the need of both America and Russia to have at least a framework, even if it's not perfect on the ground. And the second thing is probably the urgency of the humanitarian situation. You know that the people in Aleppo and in the region there in the north of Syria are badly in need for medical supplies, for food, for first aid issues. So I think that this could be itself a huge leverage.
So the UN suspended humanitarian aid. Now they're saying they're going to resume it. But Joseph, is there really any kind of guarantee that this time another convoy is not going to get hit?
No, there's no guarantee. The only guarantee is the goodwill of parties that so far didn't show any goodwill from all sides, mainly from the regime side. And I think that without enforcement mechanisms that no one wants to put on the table, I think that there is no guarantee whatsoever for anything in Syria anymore.
And meanwhile, the people of Syria continue to pay the price. Joseph Bahout, thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Yeah, thank you.